sir.
Uh-oh.
All right.
I'm on 4:15.
Yeah, you're way ahead of us.
Day late and $1 short.
A self-defense event happens.
Yeah, I don't know where my 4 o'clock.
Here, right here.
Thank you. I don't have to go look for it. Hey, a self-defense event happened in seconds. In the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. I pray you're never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American should have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. To discover more about USCCA, you can visit uscca.com/GOR. Act now, because the life you save could be your own.
There you go. And if you're in San Diego County, Orange County, Inland Empire, which is Riverside and San Bernardino County, we have a voter guide for you. If you're in San Diego, go to SanDiegoCountyGunOwners.com. If you're in Orange County, go to OrangeCountyGunOwners.com. And if you're in Riverside or San Bernardino, you need to go to InlandEmpireGunOwners.com and check out the voter guide. It's on the main page, but don't just look at it. Use it and spread it. Tell folks about it. And the people that got the endorsement from San Diego County Gun Owners or Orange County Gun Owners or Inland Empire Gun Owners, call the people up and say, hey, can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you're endorsed by a gun organization. Do not vote for anybody this November unless you can absolutely verify that they've been endorsed by a Second Amendment organization, a true Second Amendment organization. Just because they're endorsed by the Republican Party does not mean they're pro-Second Amendment. Just because they're Democrats does not mean they're anti-Second Amendment. So make sure everyone you vote for has been endorsed by some kind of Second Amendment organization, either San Diego County Gun Owners or Inland Empire Gun Owners, Orange County Gun Owners, or if they're state or federal, look at CRPA, NRA, GOC, GOA, some Second Amendment organization. And if they haven't been endorsed, if you can't verify it and know for a fact that they've been endorsed by a Second Amendment organization, do not vote for them. Just leave it blank. They have not earned your vote. And while you're on the Inland Empire Gun Owners page, check out their gun prom that's coming up in November, or just go to gunprom.com. Go to gunprom.com. And this just in, A.W.R. Hawkins, who's a fantastic Second Amendment author, he's going to be the keynote speaker. He's going to come and speak at the gun prom in Inland Empire. It's in Riverside at March Air Force Base at the museum, so you get to see some really cool planes. We're going to be some really cool giveaways, all kinds of awesome stuff. So Alisha, are you going to gun prom in Inland Empire?
I found out I have a conflict that weekend. I don't know that I can.
A conflict?
I do.
You scheduled a conflict that weekend?
It's a mom thing.
What about Eliot? Are you going? What do you think?
I don't think I'm going to be able to make that one.
No? All right. Well, welcome to the studio. Eliot is a proud board member of San Diego County Gun Owners, and we're going to talk to you later about doing the tabletops. You are a tabletop champion, my friend.
Oh, I just contribute. I wouldn't call myself a champion.
Well, thank you for doing all that you do, and thank you for being a part of San Diego County Gun Owners. You ever been on the air before?
I don't think so.
No?
not in the recorded memory.
Well, welcome. So, Dave?
What's kicking?
Are you making it to gun prom up at Inland Empire?
When is it?
It is
November 12th.
November 12th.
I'd have to look.
That sounds like a yes.
I'd have to look.
You got to get a cool car, and let's you and I drive up together. And
Now, the last time I got a cool car, I wrecked it.
well, we won't do that.
You made me go through a Mexican restaurant with a skinny driveway.
I wanted a burrito.
And you got one, too. And Rick was sleeping in the back.
Well, it was
It was a Maybach.
It was the most comfortable Kia Maybacher I've ever been in.
It wasn't a Kia. It was a Maybach.
That thing was like a space shuttle, man.
Yes, it was. We had a good time in it. And, folks, if you've never been to the gun prom of any kind, this one is going to be special, if you want my opinion, because it's at March's Air Force Base.
There you go.
And you'll get to see some really, really cool vintage aircraft, which I've been wanting to go to that museum for a long time. Anyway.
Oh, mark your calendar. You got to come with.
Yeah, exactly.
The big news in Second Amendment lawsuit news is New York got smacked down.
Got their little hand smacked.
That's right. They so I don't know if everybody remembers SB 918 in California would have basically restricted everywhere. You could get a CCW, but you couldn't carry anywhere. And that was a cut and paste copy of the New York law that passed in New York. So in essence, they said, the Supreme Court said, look, New York and the other 49 states, you guys have to issue. If they're not a felon, they submit their application, you have to issue, and you have to give them a concealed carry permit. So New York
But they're
said,
not done with that.
well,
They're going to appeal it.
well, that's fine, but we got to what's going to happen. So it got voted down here in California, and I don't think it's going to come back. I think this thing's going to get defeated completely, and New York's already starting. The judge in New York already said, no, this is ridiculous. So I think this thing's going to get defeated before California can introduce it again, which is fantastic.
Is this the same law that said like you can't carry inside a sensitive area? And that was the quote, and that's because. And then all of a sudden, all these war reenactments in the state of New York had to get canceled because they were worried that they're considered a sensitive area. Is that the same one? Or
well,
no?
so that's the term. Yeah, basically they said they redefined what a sensitive area is.
It's whatever it is. It's just malarkey in the first place. It's
is
a bunch of
malarkey.
baloney. But yeah,
It's both malarkey and baloney.
Yes.
Kid that age saying malarkey. I bet he doesn't even know what malarkey is.
No, I just know it's a bunch of hoo-ha or a bunch of
hoo-ha. Keep it up,
He's
son.
not even making it better.
You know what? You have been hanging around me way too long. Because I come up with all these little cute
acronyms. Yes,
Acronyms.
Absolutely.
Anyway, it's good news for California, even though it just happened in New York. It's good news for California, and it is a perfect example of how this Bruin case, the Supreme Court case, is going to help us. It's not going to solve all our problems overnight, but it is an enormously effective tool that will continue to be used in courts for years to come. Eliot, did you read about that? The New York case?
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
What were your thoughts on it?
Well, it was a good win. I mean, I was going to mention that Justice Thomas, in his opinion, specifically addressed not making every place a sensitive area, specifically to end around that law.
Yeah.
And so this was a good victory for Second Amendment rights, and especially all the people who have earned the right to carry concealed.
Right. And even the sensitive places that they're bringing up are the soft targets that the criminals have been shooting at.
Gun-free zones.
A lot of, I mean, they were making everything a sensitive place.
That's the easiest way. That's the easiest way to pass it without having to worry about it not getting passed.
But it's not going to fly. We have this enormous tool in our toolbox now, and those kind of ridiculous, subjective, extremely overly oppressive things. The anti-gun crowd is just going to have to realize that this is a civil right and it applies to everybody, and they're not going to win anymore. So, but we can't just sit back and let it happen. We can't just sit back and hope somebody else tackles it. If you are a member of San Diego County Gun Owners and Orange and Inland Empire, there are a number of lawsuits that you're also a plaintiff in. These lawsuits have to happen. The Miller case, which is against the assault weapons ban, of course, the Renna case against the safe handgun roster. Somebody has to do something, and we're that somebody. And we need you to join us. So become a member today and sit tight. We're going to have a really cool show. Angel Cortes. Angel's one of my favorite interviews. Yeah. We're going to have him on today.
Good.
We're going to talk about what he's been up to. And some
do you know Carrie Progene Bowler?
I don't quite.
She's Mother's community activist up in the Vista area.
Okay.
And she turns out to be a good friend of Mr. Trump.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to get her to...
Donald Trump?
Yeah, to try to get her to hook
that
us
Trump?
up for a phone call.
All right, awesome.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be
First,
fun.
if you have legal matters that involve firearms, then you need to call California's firearms lawyer, John Dillon. Especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150 or visit his website at DillonLawGP.com.
All right, we're on with Angel Cortes from OG Pumpkin. He's been on the show before. Extremely interesting guy. Loved interviewing him. Loved meeting him. And happy to have him on. Angel, how are you doing, man?
How's it going? Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Work-related stuff. But yeah, thank you for having me on again.
You bet. I was on a podcast about a month ago. They were talking about, San Diego County Gun Owners Radio, and all the other stuff that we're doing. And he asked me who my favorite interview was. And I thought about it for about a half a second, and I said it was you and Benji.
Yeah.
By far, you guys are the most interesting interview after whatever 5 years we've been doing this. We interview a couple of people, every show, and you guys were by far my favorite interview.
Well, that means a lot. I appreciate that you thought about us right away. It makes me feel like we're basically on the right path.
Absolutely. And don't tell Benji, but I think you edged him out even a little bit. You were probably pulled just ahead of that. So tell me a little bit about, just for those who aren't aware, tell everybody what OG Pumpkin is.
So OG Pumpkin started as a need to fund veteran events that I was doing at my house. So what I was doing was I was inviting veterans for my martial arts gym and school, and I was telling them, hey, come and watch the UFC fights. I'll buy the food and the drinks. And I couldn't keep doing it. I was having a third kid on the way, and barely covering the events and rent. So what I decided to do was start a company to fund these events, and I just wanted enough funds to keep this going, and it just turned out into this big thing where, now we're over 500 people who have a OG Pumpkin design tattooed on them. I've been on some very big podcasts, been on radio, and the company's grown. We have rash guards, we sell stickers, hats, we make skateboards through Benji's company, and now it started off as just, this small thing to make the money to, I want to say, a movement. In Southern California, we've had our biggest event this year where over 800 people showed up. So it's growing little by little.
That's awesome. Okay, so you were in the Army, got out of the Army, moved back to, I forget, are you in Orange County area or LA area?
Yeah, Orange County.
Orange County. So you're in Orange County and got out of the Army and just decided, hey, you know what? I want to get a bunch of vets together, just a little socializing, that sort of thing. Was that the idea?
Yes.
And I'm sure it probably helps them tremendously. Probably helps, vets who got out of the military. It probably helps them tremendously to sit and talk and do fun things with other vets, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely. And I did it for myself too, because when I got out, I lost my community and I lost my sense of purpose. So throwing the events gave me a sense of purpose, and having those people over and making friends, that was my community.
And that's something that I don't, I think probably doesn't get talked about enough. If you go get a job doing whatever, selling cars or whatever, I don't think that person looks at it as, their calling or their purpose or, it's a job, pays the bills. They probably love it. Maybe they don't, whatever. But when you're in the military, they're really, you guys there's definitely a sense of purpose that I think is taught to you guys, promoted throughout. I don't know if you can easily send somebody to war without emphasizing the fact that they have a higher purpose, that that this isn't just simply a job. Am I on the right track so far?
Oh, yes, sir. Definitely.
So then when you leave the military, it's not like, well, gee, I'm going to, I got to roll over my 401k and, whatever. It's very, very different. You've lost a sense of purpose. It's very, very different from just another job.
Yes, sir. And to be honest, it took me a while to realize that, because when I went back home after being away for almost a decade, my wife's family is from Southern California. I'm from Southern California. So, I call it the honeymoon stage. Everyone's happy that we're back. We're enjoying, being in our old community back, and it feels awesome. But little by little, it starts creeping up, and then you realize, hey, I don't really have a community anymore, and what is my purpose now? And I think that's what happens to a lot of vets. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't find a new community or purpose, and they kind of just are still lost.
Kind of crash, kind of maybe. Yep. Yeah, I can totally see that. So you get a bunch of guys together. You guys are watching what? You said MMA fights, getting together,
Yeah,
just
UFC
socializing, USC, having fun. And it's you're saying, hey, you know what? This is helping these guys. We're rebuilding a community. We're rebuilding these connections we had. But you know what? It's not free. So we gotta figure out a way just to fund these events. And that's when you came up with OG Pumpkin, right?
Yes, sir.
So talk about OG Pumpkin a little bit more. What you guys sell? I know you guys have partnered with Benji and do some skateboard type stuff, but you guys do a lot of stuff, right?
Yes, sir. So, of course, first it just started with hosting fights at the house, but because we were selling so many T-shirts and stuff like that, I realized that not all veterans like to fight or watch fights, but mostly like to go shooting. So I did this thing an event called Tacos and Vehicles, or I'm sorry, Vehicles and Tacos Range Day. I would buy vehicles, we would shoot to and from the vehicles, and I would have a taco guy come out. And, you know, that was one of our biggest events. We also have skateboarding events because we're trying to also reach out to the younger generation. And it's more family friendly. So our biggest event, we called it Shred the Trend. So shred the trend of to bring suicide awareness. And we turned a warehouse into a skate park. We had vendors, we had a band, the Aquabats played. I'm not sure if you know that band. And over 800 people showed up.
That's awesome.
Hey, let me ask you a question. This is Dave. Do you have a relationship with Tony Hawk?
I don't, but Benji's actually been to his house. So I didn't make it to that event. So I'm going to be honest, I was a little jealous.
Well, you need to reach out. He's, believe it or not, we've had him on our motorsports show, and I've got a really good contact with a lady that might be able to hook you up, because I think if if he found out what you're doing, I'm sure he would help and participate.
You know what? I would love that, and I'm sure Benji would too.
Yeah, he has something to do with skateboarding.
Yeah, he knows something about it.
Isn't it amazing how famous Tony Hawk is?
He's way famous.
I mean, people that have no exposure at all to the skateboard world somehow know who Tony Hawk
Yeah,
is.
as soon as you say Tony Hawk, ooh.
Everybody knows who that guy is.
And he's so down to earth, and he's big on giving back. So, contact Mike or Rich, and then get my email, and I'll see what I can do to get you guys hooked up.
I appreciate that, sir.
So tell us about the name OG Pumpkin. Tell us that story again. I know you told us last time, but I like it. So I want to hear it again.
So when people were telling me, hey, you need to start your company, because I was starting to gain a social media following because of sharing combat footage and combat pictures. And I didn't want to start a company just with some designs that I thought looked cool. I wanted it to mean something. And overseas, I would wear a skeleton bandana and skeleton gloves, and I've always liked Halloween. So when my son, at the time he was 5, he drew a pumpkin and he gave it to me, and he's like, "Hey, this is for you." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I looked at it, and I told my wife, "This is it. This is the logo of the company, and if people like it, then I know I got something. But to me, this means something. There's a connection there, so I'm gonna go with it." And I made 100 stickers, and I just said, "Hey, who wants a sticker?" And within 2 hours, all 100 stickers were gone, and I was shipping them out to anywhere that there's a U.S. military base. So, Iraq, Afghanistan, Italy, Germany, all over the U.S., and it's everywhere.
And you said, I think you just mentioned, you said like 500 people have a OG Pumpkin tattoo now?
Yes, because one of our main designs, I called it "Just Keep Going," and it's a ghost with a huge rucksack on his back and carrying a rifle, and he's looking like he's having a bad day. And most of us have been there where during physical training or prepping to go deployment or actually overseas, it's you're in the very sucky situation, and you just got to power through. You got to keep going, just keep going. And then I also said, hey, life is like that too. It might seem like these bad moments are going to last forever, but it's not. And you just got to keep going. And people heard the message, and they just started tattooing it on themselves. And I thought, when I saw the first tattoo, I thought that was going to be it. I thought that was cool. I thought the guy was crazy. And then that would be the end of the story. But now there's even even law enforcement have taken that design and changed it up a bit and put their badge number because they themselves are veterans. I've even had firefighters who changed the design to have a hose and an axe, and even special operations units from other countries have done it.
Oh, so it's not okay. So it's this the ghost with you said with the rucksack. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not the. Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Oh, that's cool. So it's not the pumpkin that they're tattooing. It's the.
Well, that's the main one. A few people have gotten the pumpkin, but by far the ghost one is the one that it seems to be everyone's favorite.
That's awesome. Alisha wants to get the pumpkin, I think.
Where should I get it?
I don't know.
On the website.
Yeah. I think it's an ankle tattoo, either to ankle or if it's a pumpkin, you should put it right in your bicep. That'd be awesome. You flex your pumpkin.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Orange County Gun Owners is dedicated to preserving and restoring Orange County gun rights. OCGO has developed a strong, permanent infrastructure that focuses on changing the face of gun ownership by getting volunteers involved in local level activism and outreach. We have made a profound influence and advancement on policies protecting the Second Amendment throughout all of Orange County. If you live in Orange County and want to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, join ocgunowners.com/join. Volunteer at a shooting social, at a gun shop, or even a tabletop, and help more pro-gun local officials get elected. Become a member today, ocgunowners.com/join.
All right, we're talking to Angel Cortes from OG Pumpkin. We were talking about his service to our country, and then when he was done, the service that he put towards other veterans and how that helped build a company to help support the community, which is really, really awesome. But now you're on to another project that's, like I said, the most selfless project I think I've ever heard of. Talk a little bit about what you have coming up here, Angel. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm alluding to?
Yes, sir. So, Benji and I, we obviously we were friends first, and then Mike O'Dowd, who is the founder of Defense Strategies Group, a tactical shooting company out of Los Angeles. He told me, "Hey, man, do you know of any other good guys out there? You know, with some experience and that would be a great addition to the team." And that's when I thought about Benji, and Benji and I started working together and became closer friends. And one day I could tell something was bugging him. So I asked him, like, "Hey, man, what's bugging you?" And he's like, "No, nothing. Everything's fine." And then I knew he was lying. So, but I brushed it off, waited a few hours, and then I asked him again, like, "Hey, man, like, what's going on? You don't look okay." And that's when he had told me, you know, his wife has stage 5 kidney failure. She needs a kidney, and I could see that I can see everything in his face, you know. And I immediately thought, like, what can I do? What can we do? I told him, you know, hey, maybe I can give one, you know. And after 8 months of testing and driving back and forth to UCLA Medical, I got approved. So October 25th, I am donating her a kidney.
That's amazing. You're donating her a kidney. So they had to check and make sure that it was compatible. And I don't even know what they do. I don't know. They do blood tests, or I wonder how they determine if if you can be an organ donor to someone else, you know, specific like that.
Yeah, it was. Well, first it started off with the blood test, and then that I passed that, and then it was more blood tests, and then it was EKGs, it was CT scans, it was everything. I've never been tested for so much, and well, it turns out it's nice to know that I'm pretty healthy. So
congratulations.
Yeah, and so you know, it was just 8 months of even though I passed something, I still didn't know, can I do it? I would pass one thing and then it'd be like, yeah, but you still have to do another and then another. And, you know, I was nervous that they would come back and be like, oh, I'm sorry, but you failed this, or you can't do it because of A, B, and C. But, I don't, you know, what are the chances of her not being a match, you know. So
I mean, that's a good question. Like, how do you have any idea? Like, how rare, if you just two random people that know each other, how rare is it that they're able to, you know, that one is able to donate to the other? Is it fairly common, or is it pretty rare that two people match?
No. Yeah, it's pretty rare because everyone's just like, you know, that I've never heard of any of it. I've never heard of someone that close and you just, you know, being a perfect match.
That's amazing. So you guys, all right. So you're talking to Benji. He tells you, hey, here's what's going on, and then I mean, you kind of, I'm sure you had to think about it and just kind of go, hey, you know, you make the decision that, hey, I at least want to try. Like, what Benji and his wife, what were their reactions when you said that?
Well, when I first told Benji, I could tell he didn't know that I was actually serious. He might have just thought that I said it just to be nice. And he said, yeah, man, I'll give you the information on where you can get tested. And then a couple of weeks passed, and he didn't send me that information. And then I saw him again in person, and I was like, hey, man, I'm serious. And that's when I could tell he was like, oh, man, he is serious. And then he gave me the information, and I went right away. And to be honest, I didn't have to think about it that long, or very long at all. I saw the look on his face. You know, I love Benji. He's been like an older brother to me, and it was no hard decision. I mean, what if Benji's wife is a beautiful soul, has a beautiful soul. She helps so much around with what Benji's doing, so she cares about the community. So I immediately thought about my wife and how would I feel if I was in that position. I would want her to get a kidney. So it was an easy call, to be honest.
How did you two meet? Because he was in the Marine Corps, you're in the Army. You guys didn't serve together. How did you guys end up? No. How did you guys meet?
Well, we met because one of my friends was killed in Afghanistan, and Benji had just started his skateboard company, and he decided to help sponsor this charity event for you know, my friend's wife.
I see.
So I flew out to Virginia. I went to the event, and then when I was over there, the charity coordinator was like, "Hey, aren't you from Southern California?" I told him yes, and he's like, "Hey, this company out here, it's from California. They help sponsor the event." And I was like, "You know what?" I'm like, "Let me reach out." So when I reached out to him, he responded, was like, "Hey, man, I have another event here, a toy drive with the kids. You should come out to this skate park and bring some toys." And I did. And that's how I actually officially met him in person.
Wow.
And ever since then, we just good friends.
That's awesome. So, okay, so back to the kidney thing. So you went through all these tests. They said, "Yep, sure enough, you're a match." Now, what does that even look like? Like, what do you on the 25th? You check in and they put you under and you walk out, you know, a kidney lighter, huh? Yeah,
well, it's actually the whole process starts 2 days prior. 2 days prior, I have to go. Larissa and I both have to go in, and we have to make sure none of us have COVID. And then the next day, which will be the day prior, they actually want me to stay at a hotel right across the hospital. And then, but yeah, the day of, it's I basically get put under, take a little nap, and then when I wake up, I'm a little lighter.
Wow. Have you ever had any operations done before?
No. But I have been put under before when I got all 4 wisdom teeth taken out at the same time. They did that. So and I remember just
same
it's
thing.
Almost like I took a little nap. Yeah.
Same thing. Wisdom teeth, kidney. They're taking something out of you. Well, okay. So here's what you got to do. Listen, I've had a couple operations. When they give you the stuff to knock you out, fight it. Yeah. See how long you can stay awake. I'm telling you, it's fun. That's my advice. Okay, so the room will start spinning. The nurses will start questioning. It's amazing. But, okay, so I mean, this is a huge thing. This is a huge deal. Now, you moving forward with just one kidney, how is your life gonna change? I mean, other than the fact that your life is going to change because you've just done something amazingly thoughtful and selfless for someone that, again, you said has a beautiful soul. Obviously, that's going to change your life immensely, and that's huge. But physically, like what are you going to have to? What are you going to have to?
Depends on which one they took. He'll either go hard to the right or hard to the left.
It's well, diet restrictions right off the bat. I will have to follow them if I want to take care of my one kidney. Not super strict. I've looked over, and it's basically just whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables, stay hydrated, stay away from alcohol, tobacco. I'm not much of a drinker, so that's okay right there. And I don't really smoke, so I don't even smoke cigarettes, so that's okay. The sodium intake, I would say, is pretty low, and for someone who likes pizza and chips, it's going to be, I think, quite an adjustment for the first couple months.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. She must be, I don't know. I'll bet you she doesn't know how to feel. I'll bet you she doesn't know how to feel.
So I talked to her a little bit about it, and she's still in shock and surprise, and we talk about the how much of a chance this whole thing is, right? We talk about that, and I know she's nervous, because she's got to go under too, and it's got to take. So we're all just hoping for the best,
Well, let her know what I said about trying to stay awake, because it's fun. That's my advice. Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, what would you tell people? Like, what, this, I don't, it doesn't sound like you're, trying to, get a message out there or anything. I mean, it sounds like you're just trying to do something amazing for someone that you love. But what would you tell people? I mean, would you encourage people? Hey, everybody's got two kidneys, think about doing something, as selfless and generous, or, I mean, what are your thoughts? What do you hope people get from this?
Well, that at the end of the day, I think people is what matter the most in this world, not material things, not events, and we sometimes have to do a lot to keep our community safe and strong. And this is something I have to do to keep my community going, and then so be it. But it's one of the biggest things is, to be honest, we've lost a lot of friends overseas and stateside, so they've sacrificed their whole lives, and then if I can have to sacrifice a little part of me, then that's nothing compared to what they've done.
Had you not stepped up, how long do you think she would have had to wait for a kidney?
Oh, I don't know. I've heard people wait for like 10 years.
Oh my God! Wow. So, I mean, maybe that's the message right there. Maybe it shouldn't be that way. There are enough people in this country with kidneys, with extra kidneys, that maybe that's the message right there. Wow.
And your kidneys are probably big enough to give to a couple people.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But not only that, but are you a boxer? You're in MMA, right?
Yeah, I do. So there's also that.
There's one less weakness you have. There's no kidney punch on one side now.
Yeah, but
it's a defensive thing.
Hey, did you know we have a world-class flight training school here in San Diego? Pilots can fly almost every day with the weather. They're close to the ocean, the desert, the mountains. That's why San Diego is one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly in sunny San Diego right at Montgomery Field. Getting started is easy. You give them a call at 858-569-1822. Learn to fly at SDFTI. That's 858-569-1822.
So we're talking with one of my favorite people, Angel Cortes from OG Pumpkin, and he was just telling us about how he's donating a kidney, which is just phenomenal. And absolutely applaud you, Angel. It's, again, one of the most selfless things I think I've ever heard anyone do, and what an amazing thing. Self-improvement's a big topic in both MMA and, of course, firearms training. We talk about it a lot. Self-improvement was a recent topic on your podcast, and I was wondering, Angel, could you share a takeaway from your conversation with Kay Hansen about that?
One of the biggest things I would say is the importance of taking care of mental health and not allowing past or maybe even very recent current life situations to determine the fate of your life, and whether it's going to be completely negative or destroy you. And I think we should live a long, healthy life, but along the way, sometimes things happen, and we should address them so we can not necessarily forget, but move on and live.
That's amazing. And I mean, your story is kind of an example of that. Your story from, moving from a gang into the Army, and it's kind of an example of you saying, hey, you know what? I gotta improve myself. I realize I'm on a track and it's not the right track and it's not a productive track. And you put yourself on the right track, and put yourself in the right state of mind. So where are you now in your journey?
Well, right now I'm a instructor at Defense Strategies Group. I compete in martial arts. I own OG Pumpkin. I have my family. I got 3 kids, and I'm the most involved in their lives than I have ever been. Yes, I was in the service and everything, but I was away. So I didn't really know my kids. And now I feel like I'm the best father that I've ever been in my life.
That's amazing. So what's your focus as far as self-improvement? What's your main focus right now?
Oh, well, for now, it's staying mentally tough, because it's easy to stay mentally tough when, you're in the military, when in the special operations community, it's quite easy because that is your job. That is what you're doing. But now, you can find it hard because you come out here and you're back in the real world, and it's not that tough. You're not being forced to wake up and not being forced to do this or this and that. So it's staying disciplined and not allowing myself to walk around and talk about the good old days, because I don't want to ride the coattails of that success. I want to continue my success in life.
That's amazing. So talk a little bit more. What is mental toughness? Like, if somebody's mentally tough, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it means they don't break under certain conditions. Life isn't easy. It could be sports, it could be the military. Like, for example, they're in the pipeline to enter the 75th Ranger Regiment. There were guys who were faster than me, stronger than me, who could swim faster, who can shoot way better, but they, at one point or another, just mentally broke and said, you know what, I'm done. Thank you, but no thank you. I'm out of here. And people have to endure. It's easy to endure something when it doesn't last long, but day in, day out. And I think that's not the toughness right there.
All right. So let's say I'm a regular guy and I'm a whatever. I got a family. I got a job. I shoot my guns for fun on the weekend and, whatever. I'm a Joe Lunchbox, normal, regular, everyday guy. What if I'm not mentally to that? I'm not mentally tough. What do I do?
Well,
how do you work on that?
You can. I would suggest, honestly, jiu-jitsu. And I have trained to compete in Muay Thai and kickboxing, but I think jiu-jitsu it tests you physically and mentally. And it's something about jiu-jitsu just makes people come together. Because I'll be on the mat, and it'll be a cop, a firefighter, a veteran, a dad who's this is what he looks forward to because he's in the office, 24/7 and stuff like that. And little by little, you're gonna get tested. Nothing is handed in any good jiu-jitsu gym. Nothing is handed to you. You earn your stripes, you earn your belt, and you grow together.
Now, Alicia's shaking her head. Yes.
I do jiu-jitsu as well, and you find your weakness and you find strength where you didn't know you had it, and it's a pretty amazing experience.
Definitely.
I can vouch for that.
Talk about that. What do you mean you find strength that you didn't know you had it?
If you've never been on the ground and grappled with somebody, it's easier. It's easier to watch. It's easier to like couch quarterback and to kind of say what you should do to be able to get up and get out of the situation. But when you're down, you're pinned, you got someone on you, it's hard. Your mind goes blank. You might know techniques to do, but it's a struggle. And so it takes a level of training and commitment to kind of be able to get to that point to where you can do it and be successful. And it's a neat experience.
So how does that translate? So you take jiu-jitsu, which I think is an excellent suggestion. You take jiu-jitsu, you struggle, like what Alicia's saying. Hey, and it really is. Grappling is such a pure form of combat. It's such a pure form of adversarial, combat. I mean, there's no technology involved. It's just you and one other person. There's no team dynamic involved. It's one-on-one. It really truly is skill against skill. I mean, strength barely matters. It really has to do with what you know and how much heart and soul you got.
And heart and soul is everything. I did it. My buddy and I, we got into judo, and I ended up on the United States Army judo team. But before that, him and I were down on the ground. We had each other in a chokehold, and we just kept choking and choking and choking. And the coach come over and he says, "Just get up," because neither one of us would quit, and neither one of us passed out because we didn't have the strength to take the other one out. But neither one of us would give up. So, and you're right. It's probably one of my favorite sports.
So, Angel, those kinds of stories, what Alisha and Dave just talked about, what you were just talking about, how does that translate to normal life? Like you said, you got Joe Lunchbox. He's got a job. He's got a family. Whatever. Life isn't turning out like he thought it was. He isn't mentally tough. He doesn't want to admit it. He can't say that, right? You can't go to your friends and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not mentally tough." I mean, it's just not socially acceptable. So he goes and he takes jiu-jitsu. Excellent suggestion. He
Makes
finds
you a better person.
But talk about that. Angel, how does that translate to a person's everyday life?
Well, when I do jiu-jitsu, especially early in the day, I mean, that most likely is going to be the hardest thing I've done. I will do for the rest of the day. After that, things don't seem to be that bad. That traffic, you know what? It's not that bad. You're relaxed. You're not all tensed up and eager like everybody else. Work doesn't seem that to be that complicated. Because if you're training, especially so somebody doesn't choke they're out of you, so you pass out. You realize that, hey, this or that isn't that bad. It's not that stressful. And you do problem solving. Jiu-jitsu isn't, or martial arts in general, isn't just like something you power yourself through. You got to think. You got to be patient. You got to, it's chess, not checkers.
And Angel, one other thing, and I'm going to throw it out because I'm older than dirt. I tripped over a rock in my driveway, and I went down. And I swear, if I didn't have the training that I had, I probably would have hurt myself. But it also teaches you to fall, roll, and because most people stick their hands out and try to stop a fall. But if you've had jiu-jitsu or judo, you know to roll, not try to stop the impact.
Yes, sir.
So when you get old, just remember that.
I will.
Thanks, Dave. Getting old advice.
Yeah, well,
from
hey,
Dave Stahl.
I might as well. I'm there, so I might as well throw it out there.
It's better than the alternative.
Yes, it is.
So, all right. So this is awesome. This is very, very cool, Angel. I really, really appreciate your perspective and everything that you're doing for everybody around you, not just your community, but your friend and his wife and their family.
And you're the first one to get 3 segments, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
He is.
Thank you.
So before we let you go, what's your absolute best advice for people that are listening and they really want to build up a stronger self-improvement habit? What's your best advice to those people?
I would say accountability. And it starts within, but it makes it easier when you have your friends hold you accountable. I don't have yes men around me. I don't have anyone who just, tells me I'm great. They're always telling me how I can improve and when I'm messing up. So accountability is huge. So it starts with yourself, and then maybe your spouse, your best friend, or hopefully then your whole little social circle that you have going on. And little by little, you'll be improving. And 6 months from now, you will look at yourself and be like, I am a better version than I was 6 months ago.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said about the people you surround yourself with, and scuttling people who are bringing you down or aren't helping build you up. I think is, I think it's one of those things I wish I'd have learned 20 years ago.
Never too old to learn.
There you go. Or fall down.
Or fall down.
Angel, thank you so much, man. How do people find out more about OG Pumpkin and support you and help you out?
Well, we are on Instagram at _OG OG_pumpkin, or you can easily just Google OG Pumpkin or Ranger Cortes, and just about everything you will need will pop up.
All right, so there's lots of new gun owners. Make sure that you're getting the right kind of training. Get the lowdown with me up next.
Nice.
See, with Alisha, right?
That was good, yeah.
Gun Prom is coming to the Inland Empire. Get your dresses and suits ready. Dust off those dancing shoes. Get ready to celebrate and support the Second Amendment. Join us and other Second Amendment supporters November 12th, 2022 at the March Air Museum in Riverside. Celebrate the delicious food, drinks, and dancing. Don't miss your chance to win some amazing prizes and support the Second Amendment at the same time. Get your tickets now at gunprom.com.
Gunprom.com.
Training.
All right, so what I want to do is I want to kind of share a little bit. Let's have a little bit of a talk. So when it comes to firearms training, right? So most of us, when it's time to go, what do? We go down to the range, whatever our local range is. We go in, we check in, we pull a target, we set up in the bay, we unpack our gear, and we're here in this range environment, and we're shooting at a target. And obviously, that target, it could be anything. It can be a silhouette, it can be bullseyes, zombie. There's all kinds of targets out there. But if you think about the process of when you are shooting and you're training, whether you're just learning or you're a seasoned, experienced shooter, we kind of think of that as marksmanship. You are practicing your marksmanship skills. I would just like to encourage and kind of have a little talk with all of us about the difference between marksmanship and defensive shooting. And a lot of people, when they say that they want to get trained or that's recommended they go get training, a lot of people envision marksmanship. They learn about grip, they learn about stance, they learn about trigger, they learn about sights and sight alignment, sight picture, and how to make that perfect shot. And if just simply having some fun at the range is your goal, or having fun with friends at the range, that's great. But if you have a firearm for the purpose of self-defense, whether it's that you decide to conceal carry or that you are simply just have it in your home for home defense, I would highly encourage you to kind of look at some other types of training, more defensive shooting. And that is not something you're going to get on the range and with that marksmanship mindset. And so...
Okay, so let me be the devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Which should you do or become proficient at first?
So those marksmanship skills, in my opinion, are critical to start with. I think that's a great foundation.
That's where you should start.
Correct. If you don't have that foundation, if your grip is not good, if you're if you don't have good trigger press and trigger control,
right,
your skills are going to be lacking. And so if you jump right into a defensive shooting type training, you don't have that basic good foundation, and you might struggle a little bit.
And you might be based on more adrenaline in a defensive shooting situation than a controlled target shooting. And I agree. You should be able to know the gun, hit the target, and once you do that, continually do that, and then I agree. You should do both, really.
Absolutely.
But most people think just, all I got to do is learn how to hit the target.
Correct. And then they think that they're good and they're done.
Yeah, and if you can get an aggressor to stand still, then fine. Then you don't need to do any other kind of shooting. But, it might be difficult to get that perp to stand still.
And I think that the public at large doesn't realize that there's these other opportunities that they have open to them. And I just wanted to kind of just start getting that word out there.
That's right. Do you do both, Mike?
I do. I don't do nearly enough training is what I do.
You haven't hardly done anything lately.
But what I used to do is I used to go to a 4-day class once a year. And it was a class that started at the very basics of this is a gun. And by the end of the class, by the end of the 4 days, you were actually taking a test where you were pulling from concealment.
Right.
And it was, I liked the fact that it was back down to basics, once a year like that. But I stopped going, so I gotta figure something out.
And you'll have to admit, Alisha, 4 days once a year, not probably enough.
It's a good start.
No, it's not.
Well, how many days did you do?
I do 360.
Whatever.
I shoot as I go home. Roll the window down, take out a few tires. To those idiots that don't know how to. No, I'm only kidding. Not as much.
It's tough to say, Alisha. What's like a rule of thumb? Like if you're someone who carries concealed, every day, what's the rule of thumb? Like how many hours?
You're good at hitting the target. You've got the grouping. You got that figured out. Exactly.
What is what's the rule of thumb? What's the minimum you think?
That's a very involved question. So, are we talking?
Well, we got 2 hours.
I know. Well, not anymore.
I know.
So at a minimum, my opinion, I would say at a minimum, you should be out there. Now, there are some ranges that will allow you to draw from concealment, that will allow you to draw from holster. So find one that will accommodate you if that's your situation, if you're a concealed carry. Find one that will accommodate you. And I would say at the very least minimum, be out there monthly, at least.
Well, look at Action Jackson.
Right.
I mean, 10 years old, and he shoots, well, he was until the Glock store folded.
Mm-hmm.
But he was shooting every week.
Right.
But he was only shooting...
The 22.
And he was shooting target.
No, he was shooting a 9. Yeah, he shoots a 9 millimeter.
Yeah, he's shooting 9, but he was shooting target. Target.
Correct. But at the Glock store, that's that 360 room. You have a run and gun type of environment. And that's what he was doing.
Oh, was he?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It is target. And I'm not saying that targets are not a good idea.
No.
My point is just that the mindset of standing in a bay. All right, you know what? Take a minute. Get your stance, get your footing. Get your body how you want it, and you complete your grip. And it takes you a set amount of time to kind of get all those things in alignment and get everything ready. You bring the gun up and you take that perfect shot. Well, you just had an infinite amount of time to do that.
Right.
But in a real life defensive situation, you don't have the luxury of the time and the ability to get everything perfect and set the way that you want it. And so you need to practice that. You need to practice and train how you would live.
Well, it's interesting. Jason Ostell, who's on KUSI, he just got himself a new gun. He got a Glock.
I heard.
He's all gag. And so now he's tired of going to the indoor range and just shooting at a target.
Okay.
And he came up to me. He says, I think I just need more. I said, I just don't feel fulfilled.
That's the spirit.
That's what I said. And I said, well, that's because you need to now do some running and shooting. And he goes, yeah. I should just talk to Manny. Manny will hook you.
Jumping out of a helicopter.
Well, and I was talking to the lady that I asked you if you knew her, and you said no. She had just got a Glock. Has no clue what she's got. All she knows is a Glock. And she can't rack it.
Not uncommon.
Not uncommon.
She needs a class.
She needs a class. That's what I told her.
But one of the things I used to do years ago, I haven't done it in a while, and I would love to get back to it, is just entering, some of these informal, IDPA or USP, what is it, USPSA, some of these informal pistol matches where you're pulling from a holster and getting shots on target with time pressure.
Right.
It doesn't even feel like practice. It just feels like fun.
Well, and you don't need to be panicked and say, oh, well, sure, I can't do that. I've never.
But I got to tell you, no, you don't. But I got to say, if you do that once every month or every other month, that's a ton of practice that you don't even realize.
You think that's enough?
I would be happy with that. Yeah. Your Lemon Grove Run and Gun here locally in San Diego is going to be the closest outdoor range that allows, that has those matches.
There's a range in Poway. That has something they call the Downrange Challenge every Friday night.
What's the name of that range?
Poway
Weapons and Gear.
Yeah,
I didn't know if I was allowed to.
No, you're allowed. And the mayor says that's the best range.
It's a great range. It's fantastic. Well,
the mayor of Poway, of course he's going to say that.
Of course he said that.
But that Downrange Challenge gives you the opportunity to get out from the firing line and actually move and do some dynamics. Right. And they set up barricades and the course changes every Friday. So you can get out there, and it's $10 for a run through.
Only $10.
It's only $10.
We loan you the money.
I could use $10. Yeah,
okay.
But it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of new shooters there too.
And it's not. What is it? What about an hour and a half, something like that?
No, sometimes they increased it. It was 2 hours. Now it's 3 hours. But you're going to go through. It's almost like an amusement park where you're going to stand in line for about 30
he doesn't
minutes,
stand in
20
line.
minutes,
and then you're going to run through for a minute, and then you're just going to wait again. If you can pay whatever you want for it,
but I guess what I'm saying is it's not an enormous commitment out of your life.
No, it isn't.
How do you get more gun owners to vote for the Second Amendment? Eliot is here to talk about gun shops and tabletops next.
But first, a lot of companies are frustrated with their website. It looks old. It's out of date. It's not getting customers. Well, Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and get leads. Stop being frustrated by your website and get one that you're proud to share. Contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the phone ring. Getting started is real easy. Call 866-728-9100. That's 866-728-9100 and get your website fixed today.
Eliot Kaagan is a board member for San Diego County Gun Owners, and he's extremely hardworking and extremely dedicated to the Second Amendment. And one of the things that he does for San Diego County Gun Owners is he works with our gun shop tabletop program, which is basically started as a way for us to do more outreach. The gun show was being threatened, and I really just came up with the idea of, hey, let's just get a milk carton type box and fill it up with some collateral, and you get to go hang out at a gun shop for a few hours, just pass out some flyers. And it has grown into so much more than that. And it was thanks to folks like Eliot and John Becker and all the other crew who've really grown this thing into a real class act. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, Eliot.
Thank you.
So what motivated you to get involved with the gun shop tabletop program?
Well, I've been a member for 6 years. And I remember I wanted to get more involved, and you were doing a booth. It wasn't even called a tabletop then, at the Del Mar Gun Show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 2017. And it was raining, I think. So I remember that because it rained more inside than it did in the outside. And it was just a table. We were kind of stuck off in the corner, and we had some literature to hand out and tell people that there is hope. There is something to do besides giving your money to one of the national organizations. And we went out there, started talking to people, got a lot of interest, and had a good time meeting other SDCGO folks who I had really never met before. And we spread the word about what the message was, Second Amendment. And what was really intriguing was that people would always say, well, this is San Diego. We don't have to worry about anything. You know, that's an LA or a San Francisco issue. And that was so far from the truth. Even back 5 years ago, there were so many things that were happening behind the scenes that people didn't know about. And we wanted to let people know that, look, the only way that we're going to be able to stand against that is if we join together. And we have to come together as a community, as a group, and fight and defend the Second Amendment here in San Diego.
And what would you say? What's the problem that the gun shop tabletops program strives to solve?
So I believe that we get a lot of people that come into the stores and they just want to buy ammunition. They want to look for accessories, buy a gun, it might not be their first gun, but they always just walk in, pay their money, fill out a couple of government forms, and then they walk out, right? And then come back 10 days later and get their gun. What they're missing is the next part of it, which is defending your right to continue to do that, to go into a gun store and buy ammunition, get training, buy accessories or parts. And so it can be a very narrow focus if you're just thinking, I'm just going to buy this object, and you don't realize that your rights are being threatened here in California especially, but in San Diego. So part of being a gun owner is standing up for your rights and making sure that you are ensuring that legacy, not just for yourself, but for your kids and for other family members.
And how do you know success when you see it? When you're working a tabletop, what does success look like?
That people. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we want to do outreach. We want to share the message. We want to at least get to, well, especially now, we want to get the voter guide in as many hands as possible, because that's the way that we're going to accomplish our goal. We're going to elect true Second Amendment candidates to office. And then, hopefully we don't have to sue the government every time that they want to infringe on our rights. So success, I measure that by just the number of interactions that I have with folks that are come by. And if they sign up for the newsletter, that's great. That's the first thing that we want them to do, because that way we can stay connected and keep them engaged. If they want to become members, that's great, but that's not the most important thing. We always love people and encourage people to be members. I feel personally that every gun owner in San Diego County should be a member of San Diego County Gun Owners. Because
there's a lot of things you can do at a tabletop. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can buy a shirt or a hat. You can sign up to become a member. You can get some information on how to get a CCW. There's a lot of things you can get from a tabletop.
A lot of information.
Do you ever set up in a non-gun environment?
Yes. In fact,
what's that like?
It's good. I remember probably 2018, we went to the Avocado Festival in Fallbrook, and we had a booth there, and we had a lot of volunteers that showed up. It was very busy, so there was a lot of traffic going by the booth. People were interested. They were coming over and taking our cards, the postcards, and getting Michael Schwartz's business card. We were talking about CCW back then because that was a very important part of our advocacy. But some people, usually the people that didn't want to talk to us, they just ignored us. It's just like a show on TV. If you don't want to watch it, just don't tune in, right? But some people wanted to express, how they felt about the Second Amendment, or they would think that we're one of those national organizations or an offshoot, and they'd let us know. But that's their right to do that, and it's our right to be out there and promoting the Second Amendment.
And the Avocado Fest, to make it relevant, we actually had a big bowl of guacamole.
Waiting for that. I was waiting for that. And you tested it first.
How
right?
did I ever?
It was the pits.
Well, because, I think by going to areas like he's talking about, other than, a gun-friendly, event, I think is really more important. Because, you almost got the people at the gun stores and what have you. The Avocado Festival, the Oktoberfest in Point, LeMay, things like that, which right. I think is huge.
It is.
You would think that everybody that walks into a gun store just automatically says, I want to join your organization. Some, there are people that just, they just say no thank you and they walk by.
What do you think the pushback is? Why if you're a gun owner and you're passionate about, the Second Amendment, you don't like these laws, what do you think the pushback is?
Well, so the number one reason that we get, and people who tell us that they're not interested, they don't want to sign up for their newsletter, they don't want to become a member, is that they don't want to be associated with a group that the government would know about. And so there's this fear factor, right, that their name's going to be accessible to to the government or somebody else.
And honestly, that I hear that too, and I take personal offense to that. In all honesty. Because, I'm out there.
Yeah. These are people.
You're out there,
and they're making that opinion before they talk to you.
Well, we like to tell them that if you've already purchased a firearm, right, your name's already on a bunch of different lists. California
if you've ordered a pizza, your name is on. If you have an Amazon account,
yeah.
So before we even get to the ridiculousness of I don't want to be on a list. Number one, I'm not giving up the list.
Right.
That's number one, but number two, the ridiculousness of that statement. They're already on 57 other lists, but the other part is it's honestly, everybody in this room is, public about being, you're a volunteer who's putting on this tabletop. You're putting it out there.
Absolutely.
For someone else to be so, I don't even know, but so, that's just the most ridiculous, offensive excuse I can think of.
So a lot of times people feel like, and it's commensurate with the laws that California puts forth, right? They want you to feel like you're a criminal when you're not. You're a law-abiding citizen. You're a gun owner, but they do in Sacramento, current climate, and it's been this way for 20 plus years. They want you to feel like you're a criminal,
right?
Because they want to shame you or put fear into you so that you don't buy a gun, or you don't associate with an organization like SDCGO. And so that's the mentality that people have.
Well, and if we get to the point in this country where you're on a government list and they come take your gun away, we got to that point because people like these people wouldn't join our organization.
That's right.
That's why we got to that point, and it's just so asinine. So talk a little bit about what's your day job, Eliot?
So I work for a local company here in San Diego. I manage an IT department. So I'm a geek or nerd, whatever you want to say.
I'm going with nerd.
Okay, let me tell you where I live because I've been having computer problems all day, and I'm going to throw that SOB out the window, then shoot it.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
I hate that thing.
But
an Atari 2600 is not a computer, Dave.
It's not. I almost got it figured out.
So you're a regular guy, married, family,
geek.
Career,
living in San Diego for 35 years, and went to college here, right down the road from the studio, and I was in the military, but was very passionate about the Second Amendment and firearms and shooting sports. Before then, thank you for yours.
What'd you do in the military?
I was in the Army Reserve and then the National Guard here in San Diego.
What'd you do? What's your MOS?
11 Bravo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
ground pounder.
Infantry.
And you spend how many hours a month do you spend on doing San Diego. You kind of spend a lot. That might be a bad example.
So you have to define: is it at the tabletops? So we're out there for a minimum 8 hours on a Saturday.
If for people, because you actually do a lot of volunteer work,
yes,
which you love doing it, and we're very thankful for all the volunteer work you do.
I appreciate that.
Did you pay for his gas?
But the not today, I didn't. But the someone that's listening who's like, I don't know if I have the time. Like, what would you tell somebody, who's thinking about getting involved, but they're not sure they have what's the time commitment for somebody that,
So we break up the tabletops into 2 shifts, and typically those are in alignment with the hours of the store or the place that we're going to be. And a shift is no more than 3 hours. And of course, we allow, if people, it's not like you're obligated to stay if something happens and you have to go, but most of the time people are there longer than their shift is, right? So they want to stay, they want to interact with people, they like it, they say it's fun, because we spend a lot of time amongst ourselves as volunteers talking about firearms. Where did you go for this training, and what did you do, and hey, I saw this new thing, and what about this law? And then those are a lot of times those are the same questions that we get from people who come up to the tabletop. What do you know about this? And I heard that CCWs are impossible to get.
And the time flies.
Yeah.
1 minute you're there, next minute your shift's over.
We're packing up and leaving. And
well, it's like sitting here for 2 hours. We only got 30 minutes left and we're done.
What, really?
But really, it's because when you get engaged and you're especially talking to people yourselves, or even the store owners.
Yeah,
that's a lot of times the employees don't know who you are.
Yeah, well, just yesterday we signed up 3 employees from Turner's.
Nice.
We've been there. I've been there personally at least 10 times, and
those in San Marcos.
There. Yeah,
nice.
And that was a good time.
Hey, PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Hey, if you're looking to buy, refi, or if you're just considering reverse mortgage, you need to call our mortgage guy that you can trust, Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage for nearly 25 years. Over 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. They make it super easy. You can work with a friendly expert team that will help you get the best deal on a mortgage, whether it's reverse mortgage, a regular mortgage, or you're in the military and you want to try to get a house for $1, which you can. Chris Wiley can show you how. 619-722-1303, or just go to primeres.com/Alpine.
All right, we're talking to Eliot Kaagan, who's San Diego County Gun Owners board member and also heavily involved in the gun shop tabletop program. So how long did you have to study, and how many classes did you have to take before you were ready to volunteer at a tabletop, Eliot?
There is no studying required, and there are 0 classes.
Helps to read the pamphlet, though.
It helps to know what you're out there trying to talk to people about. And first and foremost, if you don't like to talk to people, well, there's other things that you can do. Well, you can still show up and volunteer. You can hand out cards and stickers, which is good. And they can always refer to one of the other volunteers to talk. So you don't have to necessarily talk to people and answer their questions. There are other folks at the tabletops that can do that. But literally, if you're familiar with the organization, if you've been to one meeting, which I think every member should go to at least one meeting, then you're going to know what San Diego County Gun Owners is about. And then you're able to speak to it at the tabletop if you'd like to.
They're never alone at a tabletop.
No.
And everyone gets trained, brought up to speed.
Right.
All the supplies, everything's for them, provided for them.
You don't have to bring anything. And in fact, I usually bring water. Except thank you, Garrison, for bringing water yesterday.
Nice job, Garrison.
Yeah. But typically, people will just show up, and we'll even give them a shirt too. So if they don't have one, we'll give them an SDCGO T-shirt. They can wear at the tabletop, and they don't have to bring anything else.
Do they have to take it off before they leave?
No.
Okay.
They can leave with it.
And what are the fun parts? You're there working for 3-4 hours. What are the fun parts?
So a lot of times people who are members or people who want to volunteer, really active, they're really interested. They're learning how to become more active in the organization or with Second Amendment, but they always want to talk about guns, right? They always want to talk about, there's 2 things. They want to talk about guns and they want to talk about gun laws. And what are we doing about those things? Did you hear about this? Did you hear about what the judge in New York just did? So there's a lot of talk going on about how we're going to fight this fight and how we're going to protect our Second Amendment rights. But mostly people want to talk about guns.
I was working a booth up in Orange County at the Orange County Gun Show, This is maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. And a guy came up and said, I had no idea you guys were going to be here. I'd love to help, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you guys should check out this group called Inland Empire Gun Owners, And he sat there and told me all about Inland Empire Gun Owners and what a great job they were doing. I was like, yeah, I've heard of them. I've heard of them. Definitely heard of them. But I don't know. People get really excited about, just someone being there and telling the story, like, hey, thanks for doing this.
Well, it's a place to get an answer.
Yeah.
Because where else would you, not bragging on you guys, but where else would you get
You
an
can
answer?
brag on us.
Where else would you get an answer?
Yeah.
Really?
What are some of the tough parts? What's the tough part of working at a tabletop? Is there a drag?
No
sometimes,
food?
sometimes the people will go off on a tangent, and what we try to tell them is we're a nonpartisan political action committee. So we're not affiliated with the Republican Party or the Libertarian or whatever. So that's the main thing. We're all about Second Amendment, and people want to come up and they'll talk about a lot of different things. The schools. Yeah. They want to talk about critical race theory or something else, and we just have to
abortion
direct them.
Or immigration or something else.
Yeah, it's just the general state of the environment of the government or society today and its woes, and they want to dump on that, and they think that a lot of times people will come up and they just assume that because we're promoting Second Amendment that we're all the same, and we all believe we're wearing our MAGA hats and doing that, which is so far from the truth. Because everybody is so varied. Everybody who works, who is a member and those volunteer, they're so varied in what they do and what they believe. But do you
wear a MAGA hat?
No, I do not.
Does anybody?
No, not at our booth.
Not at the tabletops.
What do you clarify that?
Does the what's your favorite thing to talk about, or what do people like
besides guns?
When you're talking to somebody and you really want to sell them on the organization, what's the thing that you like the most?
Activism, right? This is your chance to get involved and do something. So I always like to tell people, you look at voting in general in this country, and what is it, 30 to 40% of people vote?
Yeah.
And then the 70%, they complain.
Right.
So if you don't like what's happening, and you don't like what you're seeing around gun laws in San Diego locally, well, get involved, and you can do something about it. I always like to tell the story about the mayor in Santee who won by 5 votes. And I tell people that
that was Dustin Trotter, city council for Santee. Dustin Trotter, yeah.
And that those 5 votes were probably obtained by San Diego County
gun owners.
Going door to door and tell people. So then they say, well, my vote doesn't count. I don't matter.
Well, that's because everybody thinks they're cheating.
Well,
and that's a challenge that you have to overcome.
People can believe that, but for the most part, you can either say, well, there's cheating, or I'm not going to vote,
or you could overcome the cheating and the non-voters by voting.
Exactly,
because your vote does count.
Exactly.
I know Mike and I used to get into it.
Well, and if for people who think, well, gee, however 100,000 people vote in
what's one vote?
Congress, what's one vote? Okay, well. Then if you want your vote to count, if you want to be involved in a race where your vote counts, you can actually make a difference. Get involved with us, because we're on the city council, school boards. We can actually get people elected.
Yes,
we can actually have an impact on that. One person can actually have an impact.
What did George Carlin always say? If you didn't vote, you can't complain.
Well, there you go.
It's as simple as that.
Even if you do vote, don't complain. Doesn't help.
No,
I'm just saying, get more active.
Get involved.
Just get more active.
Get involved.
But what's the saying? For evil to triumph, just
good men to do nothing.
Yeah, just good men.
Good people to do nothing.
That's right.
You should write that down.
And that,
and that's totally mess that up.
And that's if you want to be a good person and stop evil from triumphing, then boom, get involved in San Diego County Government.
Exactly. Because you're not going to wake up one day and these laws are going to be over and done, and we win all the lawsuits, and look, Sacramento's not going to pass another gun control law, which will be ineffective. You have to continue to fight. You have to become involved. You have to learn, and that's the other good thing about it too, is it's a process of learning. I've talked about people who come up to us and they, either they want to talk about the conspiracy theories, or they just say, I don't want to be on a list. But that's a relatively small fraction of people that engage with us. Most people are excited to know that we're out there and they can use us as a resource, be it for the first-time gun owners, through shooting socials, through our meetings, just casual conversations, or getting their concealed carry permit here in San Diego County.
That's awesome. What's a good story? You got a funny story or a good story? What's something that you really enjoyed?
You just meet a lot of interesting people at the tabletops. And we were at Duncan's Gunworks last year. I think it might have been even earlier this year. And we met the most interesting guy ever. We call him Trucker Steve. I don't know if you're out there, kudos to you. He was so pro Second Amendment. Not sure why he was at the store, because he stood around at our tabletop for 2 hours talking to us, telling us the history of long haul trucking, his whole career, and what he did. The guy looked like a surfer. I mean, he had flip flops and board shorts, but you never would have known that he took these rigs all around California, in and out of the state, and he had some crazy stories. And none of them which were really Second Amendment related, but it was you're listening to this guy. It's an amazing life.
When you ride in a truck by yourself cross country, that's a tendency.
Yeah.
You're going to start telling stories.
Good to know. And he had a lot of them too. So so he walked away. We were amazed.
Was he a member? Did he sign up?
He signed up for the newsletter.
But thank you, Trucker Steve.
He didn't commit. So hopefully, a lot of times people will come by and they don't want to do it at the tabletop, either because of timing or whatnot, and they always want to give us cash too. So we don't take cash at the tabletops. Just want to let everybody know that. But we can sign you up in literally 3 minutes.
You have all the equipment to do it, right?
Well, you can do it on your phone. If you have a smartphone, and most people do, all you need is a phone and a credit card, and we can sign you up. It's $10 a month, which...
Yeah, most people, I got to tell you, it's, when you're trying to get somebody to vote for somebody, the most effective thing is to have the candidate meet that person in person. That's the most effective. The further away you get from that, the less effective it is. So if someone just reads a pamphlet that they get in the mail,
but you know what?
It's not very effective.
I just signed up for a year, and you know how easy it was?
How easy?
I mean, and
it's so easy that Dave could do it.
I'm not computer literate by any chance, but you guys sent me the email. Yep. I'm on the list, even though you asked me to keep joining the list. So I'm on the list, and I thought, you know what? I wonder how tough this is going to be. And next thing I know, my money was gone. I mean, you hit one button, you hit another button, you put a credit card, and it was gone.
Yeah. And these tabletops, where I was going was, these tabletops are amazingly effective because you're a gun owner, you're talking to other gun owners. Yeah. There's instant trust there to some extent. And you're telling them, hey, look, here are the people we as gun owners have vetted and are we want you to support.
Sometimes we'll even have the candidates come out to the tabletops. Just a couple months ago, Dr. Melanie Burkholder, who's running for city council in Carlsbad, was at the tabletop in Carlsbad at Gunther Guns, and she stood there for about 4 hours and met people going in, telling them about her candidacy and what she stood for. She's a great lady, a great candidate. Wonderful person.
And I think the Sportsman's Warehouse on Thursday, you guys had a booth.
Garrison
had a booth, and Rob McNellis, who's a candidate for Santee City Council. I think he came out.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Said hi, I believe. Should have. Rob, I hope you did. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's always great because, like you said, when you have a candidate there, I mean, people will tend to open up. They're going to ask them their questions.
Right.
And they get to hear straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that this is what I stand for and this is what I'm going to do. And just the fact that those candidates are there at a SDCGO tabletop speaks volumes.
So what does this do for you? Why do you volunteer so much? What does this do for you personally?
Well, it's I'm defending a 200-year legacy. And I feel like it's a matter of personal freedom. You have these certain liberties. More effectively, the government is not allowed to infringe on these personal freedoms, these liberties. So that's the only way that I think that I can go buy a gun, but I got to fight to keep it.
Nice.
Plus, you're doing it for the future generations out there too.
Yes,
if we don't do it now, it'll be gone by the time.
Yeah. It won't end with me. It has to carry on.
Well, self-defense events happen in seconds. In the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. And I pray you never are forced to shoot in self-defense. But if you must, then you must be ready. That's why USCCA exists. Because every responsibly armed American should have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. To discover more about USCCA, visit uscca.com/GOR. Act now, because the life you save could be your own. That's uscca.com/GOR. All right, our favorite segment is here. Michael, take the floor.
Stump my nephew. Every week we take a question that someone wrote in, and if we use your question, by the way, if you send us emails a question, we use your question, we'll send you a hat or shirt. And if you stump my nephew, then we'll give you something super special, a very special prize. And let's see, this question's pretty interesting. Sam, you there?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, man. How are you?
Can't complain.
Fantastic. All right, I think what we're gonna do is, Eliot, you got a script in front of you?
Yes, I do.
We're gonna have our very special guest,
Got to
Eliot.
put his Ben Franklin's on.
He's gonna do the question. Go ahead.
What is...
No, you got to say who it's from
Oh.
first. Sorry.
Francine
There you
from
go.
Mount Helix.
There you go.
And her question is, what is a LifeCard?
Francine from Mount Helix, was that?
Yes.
Okay, now I know you guys are making up place names.
No, really, there is a Mount Helix. It's big, it's tall, and they have a place you can listen to concerts.
Yeah. Concerts.
All right.
Sam,
all right.
Now what do you have to say?
What is a LifeCard? Thanks for writing in, Francine. The LifeCard, made by a company called, I believe, Trailblazer Firearms, was or is, I don't know if they're still in production, but it's a relatively recent thing. A concealed firearm chambered in, I want to say 380 ACP. It's like a little single shot or two shot affair that's designed to fold up into the shape of something that looks like a thick credit card. And so the idea here is that it looks very inconspicuous until it's in its ready to fire configuration. So you can go unnoticed, I guess. I don't know. I'm too boring for that.
The LifeCard by Trailblazer Firearms is a single shot, 22 long, that folds in half. When it folds, it becomes roughly the size of a credit card. It's thicker than a credit card, but it's approximately the same width and height. James Bond would appreciate his design. It's not just small and light, but the rectangular shape doesn't shout gun. It doesn't print like a regular gun, and you could open carry it where legal, and no one would ever know it was a gun, at least when it's folded. It can be unfolded quickly, but drawing a standard gun is much faster. You got it, man. LifeCard.
And how accurate is it, and how deadly is it?
No idea. I've never shot one. I've never seen any reports by someone who shot one. But as for its inconspicuous nature, I have seen them in person. You can tell it's not a credit card, but it definitely does not look like a gun or a weapon of any type. If I saw someone holding one in public, I would. My first thought would probably be that it's a multi-tool of some sort. But it definitely does not look anything like a firearm. If you had it in your pocket, someone would probably think that, I don't know, you did just have a stack of credit cards because of the silhouette.
Except TSA. I bet they know what it is.
Yeah, I think they would. I think they would notice probably.
I wonder what the legality is on that. Do you just buy like a regular 22? I wonder if California's got a. I can't think of what law.
It's not on the list.
Well, that's true. It couldn't be on the
It's not on
safe
the
handgun roster.
Yeah, it won't be on the roster.
But I wonder.
And what if you carried it on a plane but just didn't have ammo in it?
I wouldn't try
Well,
that.
because it's still a weapon, you could not take it through security.
Okay.
All
right.
You would have to check it in your bags. As for the legality of purchasing one,
Yeah.
I think they transfer just like any other handgun, but it is kind of almost at that line where there is actually a rule that if a firearm is deliberately disguised as something else, so like a pen gun or something, then it becomes an any other weapon, so it's subject to the NFA and a $5 tax stamp.
Jeez. I would charge that
Well,
$5
you
with my
asked.
credit card gun.
You asked.
Yeah.
Does it double as a credit card?
It does not double as a credit card, but if you put an RFID tag on it with the correct data flashed to it, then I would assume you could use it like a credit card.
Yeah, Dave. So, have you seen Sam? Have you ever seen that? Have you seen the? There's some company they take Glocks and chop them in half and put a little hinge. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Have you?
I've seen those.
Have you ever any experience with those?
I don't have any experience with them other than just handling them and seeing them. I mean, I haven't shot one. I haven't been with someone who's shot one. Those things were really, really controversial a couple of years ago in the gun community.
Yeah, they kind of came and went, didn't they? They got real popular, and everybody got all excited on one side or the other.
I think the company actually went out of business. I can see a very niche use case for that type of thing, but it doesn't seem like there's very much of a market for that.
What was the controversy? Like, I wasn't really interested in one, but what did people get at their what do they get all excited about?
I think gun guys just get really upset when they think something is a gimmick, and people thought that was a gimmick because it arguably takes just as long or longer to deploy that as it does to draw a normal handgun, and it's not all that much smaller. It's just a little bit shorter.
Gun guy, we really do. We get very upset.
So we constantly complain that there's no innovation in the firearm industry, and then when someone, namely Kel-Tec, comes out with something new and interesting, we all complain about it because it's too weird. We should be ashamed of ourselves.
I'm ashamed.
I agree.
I'm ashamed of Dave.
I am too. But that's another story.
It's a whole other story.
I want that credit card.
I don't know if they're still in production. A Trailblazer?
What do you think?
Or a LifeCard?
What do you think they cost?
I couldn't guess.
You just charge it, Dave.
With my credit card?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much it goes. Just put it on your credit card.
I could do that.
The holster is a wallet. Thank you, Sam.
The cost, by the way, I just looked it up, $2.99.
$2.99, $2.99.
It's not bad. Single shot 22.
Yeah.
It's like a backup to your backup.
Yeah. One bullet. That's
not something you take to the range.
Probably.
It'll get someone off you.
That's true. It'll definitely irritate him if nothing else.
For that violent Macy's crowd, all you can carry in is your Chanel purse and your credit card.
Wouldn't that be Walmart?
Yeah, Black Friday is coming up. It gets pretty wild. Oh, and for legal reasons, everyone, that was a joke.
Thank you very much, because we already had the lights starting to flash red in here.
That's right. All right, Sam. Well, good
Nice
job, man.
job.
Awesome job. I don't know
As
how you
always.
knew what a LifeCard was or who Trailblazer Firearms is,
I
but
didn't even know.
you nailed it yet again.
I think Sam knows everything.
He seems to. Do you have a question? Did you come in with a question at all, Elliot?
No,
You don't want to be embarrassed. I'm serious, dude. You do not want to go up against this kid. I wouldn't. Michael tries.
I don't want to go up against him.
I know. He embarrasses you too.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Nice job.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, you been doing any flying?
Not lately, but hopefully soon.
My buddy just got his tail dragger license.
Oh.
I hear that one's a lot of fun. Right now, I'm working on my instrument rating, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at my tail dragger endorsement soon.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. He's about one of the only guys I know I would trust to go up with. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's not a shot at your flying, Sam.
No, I would go up with Sam. Heck, are you kidding? I'd trust Sam.
I would too, actually.
I wouldn't even.
He takes it very seriously.
We wouldn't even need navigation. He'd go
Are there any weird airspace laws out in California? I don't know how it works out there.
Oh yeah, go anywhere near a military base, and you will get. I had a friend of mine.
Well, I think you mean, is there anything like California specific? That's a good question.
California specific? Probably you can't fly over the capital of California because they don't know who's coming.
We have that here because of DC. I don't know if they have something like that out there.
You guys have a capital out there?
Yeah, a pretty big one, I've heard.
Yeah, he hasn't flown over it yet. All right, man.
No.
Good
Awesome
talking to
job. Great job as always. You're always getting them right. That saves us on having to come up with a special award.
That's true.
So thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me on. Good night, everyone.
All right, good night, man. All right, folks. Hey, subscribe to our show. Give us a 5-star review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. And please support our great sponsors like San Diego County Gun Owners. It's like dirt cheap, folks. Come on, $10 a month. And you can go for the whole year and you get all kinds of bonuses.
Most effective $10 you're going to spend all month.
That's almost a gallon of gas.
You can't even buy breakfast or lunch for that, let me tell you. And Orange County Gun Owners, Inland Empire Gun Owners. In fact, they have a show coming up, the Gun Prom. You want to go to that. The Dillon Law Group, PRMI Mortgage, Sage Tree, San Diego Flight Training International, U.S. Concealed Carry Association, and a big shout out to Michael Schwartz, Alisha Curtin, Sam the Gunman, and Brendan Thomas. We are so glad to have him back. And Chauncey and his team for keeping us, keeping our mugs on Facebook.
He's busy with his watch.
I know they're all looking at their phones.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It's the first time you set it down.